everybody. Hi, I'm Shmuela, and I'm really happy to be here and excited. And also, I have a bit of a cold, so I hope it doesn't affect my voice too much or my sense. So, and that will make it through the talk. So I'm going to talk about Angular with Firebase. And first of all, I'd like to ask you to get to know you a little bit. Who has been working with Angular? All right. Is that Angular 1, AngularJS? Okay. Who has been working with Angular 2 or 4? Okay, just a little bit of you. The rest of you, who has tried using or learning a little bit Angular 2 or 4? Okay, so you're a little bit familiar with it. Great. And what about Firebase? How many of you have been working with Firebase, trying it out? All right, so you're totally new to Firebase. That's awesome. That's great. So I know how to where to focus. That's awesome. Okay, so I'll tell you a bit about myself. This way. It's okay, backup plan. Oh, okay, it has to be close enough. All right, so I'm a developer. I've been working with frontend for the past 3 years, I think. Mostly with AngularJS, that's the first version of Angular. And lately I've been working with Angular, that's the new version, 2, 4, and going up. So I'm a developer, a consultant, and also a trainer. I also teach Angular, and I love coming to conferences and speak about Angular. This is how you can reach me. I'll have this slide also in the end, so if you'll be convinced to talk to me, that you want to talk to me by the end of the lecture, then you'll have the details again. Also, a few things that I do on my free time, besides conferences. I'm the founder of NG Girls. That's a new organization that aims to introduce women into the world of programming through Angular, but not only. Through web development especially, and the pictures that you see here are from the first event that we've had. That's a workshop where women who are beginners in this world come to a full-day workshop and follow a tutorial with the help of mentors, and everybody's volunteering in that. So we've had a few workshops around the world already. The first one was in November, and it's really exciting to be in something like that. And we're thinking about more other activities, such as mentoring to coders who are more experienced in the field, doing some projects in the spare time, and so on. So basically this project, this organization can work anywhere in the world, and anyone can just go on and organize a workshop. So NG Girls will give you the resources you need to do that and give you the help, and you can just go and organize this and find the participants and mentors and just do this, and it's really, really great. So if you're interested in that, you can go to the website, ng-girls.org, or just talk to me. That's the best thing. Another thing that I'm doing on my free time is organizing a meetup called Angular Nights. I don't remember if I said, I'm based in Israel, so this meetup runs in Israel, and it's about learning Angular through coding, through workshops, and if you're having a meetup anywhere else in the world, I'd love to come and join you and participate. So, and if you're in Israel, so you're very welcome to come to the meetup, and if you want to suggest a session, then I'll be very happy to host you. All right, so that's about me, and let's talk about Angular and Firebase. So I've prepared a demo application and I've deployed it. So this is the link. Wait a minute, there's a cool effect. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, because it's a Firebase open fire Cookbook. So you can just go to the link and start using it. This application is kind of a recipe book for, well, you can put there whatever you want actually at this moment. Anyone can add, anyone can see the recipes over there, but in order to add a recipe or to edit it, you have to be logged in. I'll just show you. I'll show you the application real quickly. Sorry, that's the localhost version, right? So it's not perfect, of course. Things can always get better, and there are a few bugs. But we have here on the side the list of recipes. I'm logged in at the moment. You can log out. It's a bit small. Maybe I'll make it bigger. Not the minus, plus. All right. Okay. You get this page when you enter the app, but if you click on the logo here, sorry, then you can see all the recipes. And in order to add a recipe, you have to sign in. Sign in, all right? And you can sign up, of course. If you're signing in with Google, then you just click on the, you just have to click on the button. If you want to sign up with an email and password, and you have to do this, sign up, put your email, password. There's no check currently for repeating the password, so whatever you put here is fine. And just sign, should say sign up, but you're signing in also on the way. And here you're, and you can add a recipe. My new recipe. Put some ingredients. Angular, let's do it like that. Angular Firebase app. Angular quantity, 1 platform. Add an ingredient, Firebase, also 1 platform. Install, develop, deploy. Okay, and save. Now we're using here the real-time database, so I hope the internet works and that we can see it added in the recipe list. Come on. Should be added. Here it is. Okay, takes a bit of time here with the internet. So, you can see I also use an avatar here, and if you're logging in with Google, it just takes your photo from there. And if not, it just selects a color, a random color, and gives it to your avatar. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna take something for my cough. I hope it helps. Okay. So, sorry, I hope it doesn't disturb in the microphone. I'm gonna keep the QR code for a few more slides, so if you want to get to open this app in your phone, you're welcome to do so. Open Fire Cookbook. Oh, okay. Okay, so Firebase is a lot more than just database. Of course, it's a real-time database, but it's much more than that. Not only real-time database, it gives you lots of features, lots of things to manage your server side. I mean, it lets you develop a serverless application. So for me, for example, it's great because I'm a front-end developer, and I want to concentrate on the front end. And I know that developing for a server side, there's so much to do. There's so many things to consider, so many things to add. And Firebase takes care of all of that. And even if you only have, for example, the database on the server side, there are so many things that Firebase gives you in addition to just a database. It gives you a real-time database. It gives you protection for read and write. It gives you analytics. Everything out of the box, you just start using Firebase and you have it. Okay? You have all the authentication methods, like you saw here, signing in with Google, Facebook, GitHub, and a few more services. And you can sign in with a username and password. There's storage. You can use storage for uploading files and photos, for example. Cloud messaging. Although it maybe started as a service for mobile applications, but today web applications are also become mobile friendly because we want everything to run on our mobile. So it becomes a progressive web application which you can use features from your phone, but not only. For example, we have the messaging, cloud messaging. Some notifications that pop up whether you're on your mobile or on the computer. Okay? Even when the browser is closed, once you open the app for the first time, it asks you whether you want to get notifications, and then you just get them. I bet you've already seen it in the past few months, right? So you get that. Well, hosting. I host this application on Firebase. Test lab crash reporting functions is a really, really cool feature, really important feature, which is relatively new. It was announced just, I think, 3 months ago, and it came just in time for an application that I was developing, because it manages to do things, actual things on the server side. I'm going to get to it a bit later. So you have, like I said, the analytics, remote config app indexing, everything, lots of things. You can add advertisements through AdWords. Firebase is in the basic tier is free, so you can actually develop a really big, large application and have even many users, but only when you have certain amount of users or a certain amount of function calls, only then you start paying for it. So there are there are a lot of companies and startups that actually use Firebase at their server side. and it works, okay? So you can build a real application, real web or mobile application, and Firebase manages the scaling for you, for example. It manages, it opens machines whenever you need. Okay, you don't have to think about all this by yourself. You just have to develop this super great app of yours. All right, Angular. So most of you have heard and used Angular. So the new version of Angular also targets not only web, but also mobile and other platforms. You just you write one code, and you can put different renderers there, and it will render, for example, for a native mobile app or for a desktop app or even Arduino. We're currently in version 4. We skipped version 3. But 4 doesn't have many breaking changes from version 2, so don't be alarmed. Okay, it's not like the transition from 1 to 2. Okay, and most chances that you're not going to encounter any of these breaking changes when you upgrade. Okay, Angular is really takes care of everything you need in the front-end side, and not only, okay, it gives you also options to do server-side rendering, and it's really great. It has a great performance, and helps you also to concentrate on the code, to concentrate on whatever you want to build, and easily do whatever you have around this. So one of the ways the Angular team is helping us to develop, to easily and quickly develop our applications is the Angular CLI. This is CLI is a command line interface, and you install it globally on your computer, and you generate a new project, and this project is ready for it just runs. You get inside the project, and you run ng-serve, and it runs on localhost with everything you need. It has tests. You can. It has a command line building and building your application for production. It has commands for generating all the components, the services that you need, directives, pipes, and it generates everything you need, a folder, all the files, all the boilerplate. So really use it. I use it all the time. Angular Fire is the official library for Angular with Firebase. It's also in the Angular repository. And it gives you some features. You can use Firebase without Angular Fire. That's Angular Fire 2 for Angular 2 or 4. And there's Angular Fire, which is for Angular 1. You can use Firebase without it, but Angular Fire gives you some extra features that are really, really cool and powerful. For example, using observables, which we really like to use in Angular applications. So it connects, for example, to the database or to your user with an observable. And so whenever you have a change in the status or in the data, then it just goes through whatever function you concatenate to it. You pass it through, and then it just displays. In this example, we see here, for example, auth state is the state of the authentication. That this is an observable given from Angular Fire. Auth service is a service that I've written, but I'm using Angular Fire there, so I put auth state as a member on the service. Angular lets us bind inside the template with the double curly braces that you probably know, and it has async here is a pipe that looks at this, and async says, okay, this is an observable, so I'm going to listen to it and subscribe to it, actually. Async subscribes to the observable, so you don't have to do that. If you want to use the observable directly in your template, this is the way that you do this. And if the observable, after you subscribe, it returns an object, then you can simply use things, members of the object inside. And if you're not sure the observable is always there, the result is always there or always ready, for example, if the user is not authenticated, then you can just put a question mark over there. And this whole thing, in some cases, maybe in your use case, it will work. In other cases, you might want to just get the subscribe to the observable from the service or the component, and then get the result to the template. So that's also okay. So Angular Fire gives us this option. All right. So Firebase gives us different methods for authentication. So like we saw with email and password, with federated identity providers, Google, Facebook, GitHub, and I think one more that I can't remember right now. If you want to use other identity providers, for example, LinkedIn, then you can use the Google Cloud functions to integrate to that. Smart user management, that means that if the same user logged in through different services with the same email, then Firebase recognizes that it's the same user and has the same account for him. But you can turn off this feature if you want to have different accounts for different authentication methods. And there's even an option of anonymous user, which which also creates a user and recognizes the user in the system whenever the user uses the application. And it can save things for this anonymous user, and once the anonymous user decides to log in, then Firebase just takes all the data and passes it to this recognized user now. So this is also really an awesome feature. Now, think only about the authentication, and I'm going to show you how I'm doing some of the features of the authentication in my application. Think only about that. How much work would it take you to do this by yourself without some service like Firebase? And think about all the features that it gives you. There are some more features that I didn't write here. For example, recover password. You can use the option to send an email through Firebase, and you can, of course, configure the email from inside Firebase and send to users who forgotten their password. Or you can reset the password from within the console. You as the app creators, the admins, you have access to all the data. Okay, database. So it's real time, meaning if someone, if multiple users use the application in the same time and, for example, add data, then once it's added, the other users immediately see it, okay? You don't have to think about how to synchronize it. There's also some features for connectivity issues. So if the user wants to update something but there's no connectivity, once the user is connected to the internet, then Firebase sends the data, okay? It saves it on the computer and sends it once you have connection. You have, of course, read and write protection with rules that we're going to see. You can use With Angular Fire, you can use get the lists from Firebase, like the database. It's actually it's written in JSON, and it doesn't really have lists. Everything is an object, but you can have a list-like structure. So you can, using Angular Fire, you can call it as a list. Or you can call it as an object. And you can use queries to find specific things in your list, specific objects in your list. And the queries also receive observables. For example, a query for maximum results, and whenever the user changes the number of maximum results, this is passed as an observable to the query. So we're not going to see that today, but there are demos about this on the internet. Cloud functions, like I said, it's new. These are lots of things that you can do with the cloud functions. It's just functions that run on the Firebase servers. So you can use them to message, to send notifications, send emails, send SMS, modify the database in real time, and intensive tasks, access the storage, and lots of things you can do with the functions. I'm gonna show you some use cases that I've been using. The triggers for these functions, when anyone writes or to the database either a new thing or changes some data, whenever a user is created or deleted, whenever there are files uploaded to cloud storage, analytic events, HTTP calls, you can write functions and just call them using HTTP. And messaging, pub/sub messaging events. All right, so this is how I set up my project. So first of all, I use Angular CLI and I install it globally. I generate a new app called my app, or whatever you want to call it. I put here some flags. I use SAS for styling. I can put a different prefix. The prefix is used for the names or the selectors of all the components and directives that you're going to create. The default is app. -it is inline template. I usually like to have the template in the same file as the controller, as the code in components. And I want to have an application that already has a route configured, okay? I enter the project, and to start to serve it, I just call ng-serve, and it opens on localhost 4200. I install inside from npm Firebase and Angular Fire 2, okay, and save it to the package JSON. I also install globally Firebase tools. I log in, and the logging in is done through the browser, which is really cool, and Firebase init, and it's a Firebase project over there. Okay, so what we have in the cookbook, I used authentication, real-time database, and cloud functions. And to manage the users, I used lots of things, authentication, routing, once you authenticate, where do you go, avatar, read permission to all, write permission to authenticated user, that's to add a recipe, and to edit your recipe, then the recipe has to be yours. Okay, let's see a bit of this, of the code. Okay, so first of all, we have here, we have Angular CLI gives us environment files. So you put all the configuration from Firebase in here, and you can access it wherever you want in the application. And it's good practice to have two Firebase projects, one for developing and one for the production. Okay, so when you develop, you don't mess with the production. Okay, so I have two environment configurations here, and when you run ng build minus production, on the flag production prod, then it takes the environment prod file, and when you run ng serve, then it takes the local one, the environments. In app, you initialize the app with Angular Fire module and with this configuration that you just used. Can you see this? Is it clear enough there? I don't know if you can. Okay. And then you can start using Angular Fire and Firebase for other features throughout your app. So, for example, let's look at the Authentication module. Authentication service. So in the constructor, I inject Angular Fire Auth and Angular Fire database. By the way, Angular Fire is now in version 4 in a release candidate. So if you're upgrading from Angular Fire version 2, Angular Fire 2 version 2, there are some breaking changes, so which are meant to allow tree shaking. So we have different services for different things in Angular Fire. So for authentication, we have one service, Angular Fire Auth. For the database, we have another one. Okay, so we have to inject them separately. So in the constructor, I just, like I showed you before, I use the Angular Fire Auth service, which has an auth member on it, and on it, it has the auth state, which is an observable. And I use the observable. Well, eventually I use it here, but I do some things before that, because every user that subscribes, I want to save some data, have a user record also in the database. Okay, I'll show you quickly in the console that I have, the Firebase console. We have the authentication tab here with the users. But you can't access all the data of the user. So if you want to access it while using the application, whenever a user registers, you have to add it to the database. Okay, and here you have, this is the development application, by the way, I think. Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so for example, if the user has a photo URL, then I'm going to save it here so I can use it in the avatar in different places, or when I save the recipe, I want to save who user created the recipe, which user created the recipe. So here is the UID, that's the user that created the recipe. And then when I want to show the recipe, I use the avatar of this user. So I go to the user and look if there's a photo URL. And if not, then I go and take the avatar color that I created using Cloud Functions. So whenever a user subscribes to, logs in or signs up actually to the application, there are functions on the server that are called, and I'm going to show you them. Okay. Also, there are great instructions on Firebase how to create this server function project and how to deploy these functions. So I'm just going to show you the functions right now. So where do I have it? So there's a function for when you're saving a recipe, and there's a function when you add a user to the database. Okay? So functions, auth user, on create. It kind of jumped here a little bit. And first of all, you can log things. You can see what kind of data you get, and you can see it here in functions, logs. And if you have any errors when a function is called, or here is the log, then you can just look at what's wrong or see what you have in this event that you got. Okay. So here I get the user ID from the data, and I get a random color to attach an avatar color. And if the user has a photo URL, so it also gives attaches this to the user, and I write to the database to the users list. Okay, so this is only one use case of using cloud functions, which is really, really great. And I'd love to show you more the whole project. I've been working now a project like this. It took me just a few days to set up. I'm using also Angular material for the components, which I'm getting to know also and get used to. So really, I'm just concentrating on the functionality of the project. I'm concentrating on how the database would look, and what functions will run there. There are database rules that you can apply for reading and writing. So this is the default, and then after the default, everyone changes them to read and write true to everything because you haven't configured the authentication yet. This is how it looks in my project. And this is a different project of Eric Haddad, who's also doing lots of talks about Angular with Firebase, so also check out his talks. Deploying is really, really simple. This is all I need to do to deploy this to Firebase, to build the project and deploy. And there's a lot more, and there are links here, but we don't have time to go over everything. So much to do with Angular and Firebase. So please, you can contact me. The project is already on GitHub. You can see it there. You can ask me whatever you want. You can see all the code. You can try it by yourself. The functions are there, and also the database rules are there. So I hope you're going to want to develop now something with Angular and Firebase, and if you would like more assistance with this, more tips, then come talk to me. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you very much.